that introduction. Lied a little bit. That was good for me. I'd like to thank the Hall of Fame committee for this recognition. I was only, in my mind, doing my job. I'd like to thank the coaches who were always my friends. I'd like to thank my family for always being supportive. And when I look out through there, I see my life before me. And I'm not ready to cry like Kristen. I just got something in my throat here. I have loved living here. I have loved working here. Muskingum has been the center of my life. It's the best thing that ever happened to me. If many of you in here went to school here, and for me, it was the best time of my life. I absolutely loved it here. I came back after I graduated about 10 years later, and one of my thoughts for myself and things I always say when I really like something is I thought I died and gone to heaven. And that has been what my life has been here at Muskingum. I met my wonderful wife here. My daughter is going to school here. She married a river rat from Medina as well, so we're carrying on the tradition. And I would like to have you all know that magenta is my favorite color. Unlike my buddy Red Oak Walker, I always said that Red Oak, when he dies, will have his casket lined in magenta, black and magenta. And that is something that will always stay with me. We're the only school in the country that has the color magenta. Several of you have asked me that today. We're also the only school, or there was one other school in the country that is a Muskie, and that's Lakeland College in Sheboygan, Wisconsin. And I'll go into the next world, I'm sure, in black and magenta. All my friends are here. All my lifelong friends came from Muskingum. Every job I had came from Muskingum. It has just been the center of my life and made my life. Now, having said all those things, I want to set a few things straight. There are several of you in here over the years, behind my back and sometimes right at me, saying, "You played too long without a helmet." And that bothered me. And we're looking at records today, I want to set things straight. I did. I wore a helmet. That settled? This is leather. I don't know who wore it. Jeff Haycock gave it to me. Isn't it really neat? You know, all this stuff about concussions. I'm most famous, my classmates will tell you, and my teammates, I'm most famous for a concussion. I don't know how many you've had, but I've had 4. I was talking to my buddy Vix here. He said he's had 2. How many have had at least 4? Am I leading? Mark DeVilling, 5. Mark's got 5. If you played football, you had them. We went out to Westchester, PA, and played a team called Westchester University. It was #1 in the Lambert Cup. Bix played in that game, and we were like #1 and 2 in small colleges. We're a little different divisions, and we didn't know what we were doing. And they had a running back by the name of Joe Icone, who was a little All-American, and about the middle of the second quarter, off he came off tackle, and I hit him, and I was out. But he was out too, I remember that. I want you all to know that. But if you've had concussions, there are some things you vividly remember. There's a lot of things you don't. But I remember they took me off, I talked my way in the second half. I ended up, they tell me I intercepted a pass to save the game. I'm not sure, but it's somehow or other on film. At least I hope we have that record. We get back. I have a buddy, Benny Benson, Don Benson, good guy, who was assigned to me as a roommate to check on me, and we go back to the Carlisle Hotel in Carlisle, Pennsylvania, and we go to bed. And Benny's supposed to check on me, and I'm supposed to check on Benny. Well, morning comes, I get up, Benny's nowhere to be found. I walk down, no one's there. I said to the lady at the desk, "Where's the team?" And she said, "Well, sir, they left 3 hours ago." So here I am, always rational, logical. For whatever reason, I'm dumber than hoot owl. I think I have a lot of common sense. I have $2.50 in my pocket, and I looked at her, and I said, "Well, do I still have a breakfast coming?" And she said, "Yeah, I was already paid for." So I ate breakfast, and I said, "Would you tell me where the state police station is?" And she said, "Just down the road here." So I went down, walked into the state police barracks, and said, "Sir, I need help." "Well, what is it, young man?" "Well, I'm supposed to be on a bus headed for Ohio on the Pennsylvania Turnpike." "Did really?" Well, as luck would have it, they do all those things. The bus broke down. And our coach, a guy by the name of Ed Sherman, who's legendary, crotchety, never smiled, always on your back. He's out there, the bus is broke down, we're supposed to go see the Steelers play. I'm back in Carlisle, PA. Well, the state police put me in the back of their car and took me out there. And the state policeman kept me in the back seat. And the state policeman went up to Sherman and said, "Coach, how you doing?" "Well, what the hell do you think is going? My bus is broke down, I got these kids, I gotta get to Pittsburgh. What business is it yours anyhow, man?" He said, "You got all your boys, Coach?" "Yeah." "What's it to you?" He said, "Well, I got one in the back seat here, so I brought from Carlisle." Then the worst of it is, I got blamed. It was me, it was my fault. More than anything, he was the man that got me hired here, and when I came to know him, he said, "Oh, Steve, I was scared to death." He said, "I'd have been fired had something ever happened to you." So you think about all those concussion things, and you can think in a way that I started something. The other thing I think about is so many deserving players. I was pretty good, but I played around 3 guys who played in the NFL. Mark DeBilling, a year or 2 after me, probably the best defensive lineman I've seen here. Bill Cooper, a fullback. I don't have any teeth from here on back from hitting in practice one day, and Roger Lalonde. So we were really pretty good in those days. One of the things we did, and Tom, you remember this, TD, you couldn't have water. And if you needed water, you were silly. And one day, a guy by the name of Ronnie Dirks, a really good player, was up in practice and really hot, bad day. They also gave us salt pills, which meant it was even worse yet. And Dirksy went down with a heat stroke. And Bud Curzan and Doc Chess had just been to a heat stroke clinic at Ohio State. And they learned that when someone has a heat stroke, you pack them in ice. Well, here we are after practice, at the end of practice. At least they let us out of practice early. We were very thankful to Dirksy for that. But here he is packed in like a coffin, and they carried him off in ice. We were scared to death. We thought that he would have died, but thank goodness he recovered. I'm not sure he recovered totally. Sometime I said that he killed me. But from that day on, there's been unlimited water for Muskingum football players. And I know a lot of you remember that, Oak, you remember that, what have you. So when I look at the world, I look at all those changes that have taken place. The one that's most fascinating to me is the size of players. And I've asked many of my teammates today how much they weighed when they played. And I weighed about 185. Burson's name always comes up, doesn't it? Burson weighed 145 pounds as quarterback. What I remember about Burson is that he always had these colored shirts on, and you weren't allowed to hit him, and you weren't allowed to touch him. If you're, Mark, you understand, you want to rip the quarterback's head off if you're defensive. So Burson was all, in my mind, the prima donna. But don't tell, you can tell him that, because I'm still with him.